Hello all, good morning, good evening or good afternoon. So today, around half an hour ago, which is 12 p.m. midnight India time, we completed the season 1 for PC Open Quiz. Now this quiz was started based on the request where people said, let's start from the basics. We don't know certain properties, we don't know certain things about Business Central, so let's talk about it. Now this quiz had 30 questions and that ran through the whole month. The quiz was live on Instagram, and every day at 10 a.m. India time, we had a new question with 4 responses, and then you comment out your answers. In this particular video, we'll talk about the correct answers or correct responses to those questions. If I'm wrong somewhere, add it into the comment section. I'll correct myself. If you are interested, and based on the requests from the people who reached out during the middle of the month, I have also uploaded them on YouTube, so you can always go into the playlist called BC Open Quiz Season 1. It has all the questions available, so if you're interested and if you'd like to see, this repository will be there and playlist will be there, and you can just go ahead and watch the questions later on. The video that we are recording right now will also get added into the same playlist. Okay, so let's go through each questions one by one. Thank you for everyone who participated. Yes, there are, as people participated, there is a leaderboard. But for me, everybody who participated learned something new, and that was the intention of it. But if you like to see yourself on leaderboard, let's have a look. Okay. So the first question that we had is, what is the maximum size of a table in Business Central? The options were 4K, 8K. It's determined by SQL Server, or is it determined by Business Central compiler? And the correct answer was, it's determined by SQL Server. If you have confusion why I'm saying it, add it in the comments. And there were 4 people who answered it, so they all got into the leaderboard, and these are those people and their Insta handles. The next up, we had, which of the following trigger is not valid for a table in Business Central? So we are asking about the table triggers, and the correct answer, or the incorrect options out of it, was on validate, because that's not a table trigger. And more people joined, and this time we had 8 people who tried to answer this question, 4 who came from the previous one, and 4 new joined on this question. The third question was, what is the maximum length of an object name in Business Central? So when you go into AL development and you start creating an object, what is the maximum length of that object name that you can give in Business Central AL development? And the correct answer is 30 characters. And that updated the leaderboard here. You can see if your name is there or not. In which range are the system tables created in Business Central? So there are certain system tables. So in which object ID range those tables are created? The correct answer was more than 2 million. And this is the updated leaderboard after people answered that question. Now, if you don't see your name in the leaderboard, you might have replied after midnight on the day when the question was posted. So that was kind of the condition of the quiz. The next question is, which statement is incorrect about tooltips in Business Central? Now, tooltips is something that you associate it with the field that's available for the users to see in the screen, and there had been some recent changes on the tooltip, so that was added because of that. And this is the incorrect statement about tooltip, that if a tooltip is defined on a page, it is ignored during the runtime. And that updated the leaderboard here, while Shivanshu and Darpan are leading the board right now. Okay, the next question was, what does it mean when a table access is set to internal? So this is a table metadata quiz. So we are asking questions about table properties, and one of the property is internal. Which of these options, what happens when you define a access level of a table to be internal? And the correct answer was that particular object, or table in this case, can be accessed only by the code in the same module, which means same extension. You can't refer that object outside the current extension. And in the same way, the leaderboard was updated. Again, Shivanshu and Darpan were on the top 2. The next question was, which property of an object is used to display a different name in the user interface? So you have a field name, and what property you'll use if you have to show a different name of the field on the client. And the correct answer was caption. So you can define a different caption than the field name, and the caption is something which user sees on their screen. That updated the leaderboard, but this time Shivanshu and Darpan again leading the board with 7 points. Next up is, which of the following parameter is incorrect for the caption property? So there are different parameters to the caption property, and the question was, which of these listed option is the incorrect for the caption property? And the right answer was caption ML. Here's the updated leaderboard. Still Shivanshu and Darpan are leading the board, so great guys. And then I see Dhyani KD and Tushar are following up with Keshav and Mr. Nobody. Which object property is used to display a different name in the user interface based on the user language? Now this question may look similar to the first one, but this is a little bit different, because that's also, the question is about the language that is selected by the user on their settings, and that's where the caption ML property, which is the multi-language property, is used to define a different display name. Shivanshu and Darpan are still leading the board, with Kapil, Tushar, Keshav and Mr. Nobody following them up, trying to beat them up as they go forward. Which is an invalid compression type property value for a Business Central table? Now, I'm pretty sure you know that Business Central by default applies a compression. On an on-premise environment, you can define a compression property on your tables, and there are certain options. One of them is incorrect, and the incorrect option is record. And still, Shivanshu and Darpan are leading the board, whereas Mr. Nobody and Tushar and Keshav moved up in the queue, then Kapil or Dhyani KD. Which table property is used to set fields that appear to the left of the caption on a page? So when you open up a page, you see certain field being displayed on the header of the page. What property you need to use so that you define which fields will be visible? And the options were data caption fields, drill down page ID, lookup page ID and page caption. And the correct answer was data caption field, or is data caption fields. Still Shivanshu and Darpan leading the board with all the questions correct till this point. Tushar, Keshav, Mr. Nobody and Dhyani KD are still trying to catch up on that. Which of the following tables is shared across all companies in a Business Central environment or a database? So there are share tables which are common to all the companies, and then there are tables which are company specific. So which of these is the table which is shared across the companies? And the correct answer is record links. Having said that, more people started answering question at this point, but Shivanshu and Darpan still leading the board. Tushar, Keshav and Mr. Nobody are kind of moving their way up in the queue slowly. Which property in a table is used to share a table across companies? So the previous question is which table is shared across the company, but how you define a table which will be shared across the company? Which of the table property you need to use for that? And the correct answer is data per company. And again, Shivanshu and Darpan are still leading the board, with Tushar, Keshav, Mr. Nobody and Dhyani KD trying to do a catch up. Next one. Which property is used to set the drill down page associated with the table? The options were drill down page ID, drill down page, lookup page ID and lookup page. And the correct answer was, or is, drill down page ID. And still Shivanshu and Darpan are still on the top of the leaderboard, with Tushar, Keshav, Dhyani KD and Mr. Nobody trying to catch up over there. Which property allows other module to make an additive changes to an object. What property you need to define on a table so that the other modules or extensions can make additive changes to an object? And the correct answer is extensible. If an object is set to extensible true, then and only then other apps or other extension can make additive changes to your object. Still, Shivanshu and Darpan leading the board. Tushar, Keshav, Dhani Kedi and Mr. Nobody are trying to do a catch-up. Next up is, how do you specify the name of the table in an external database? And the options are SQL name, external name, CRM name, or external DB name. And the correct answer is external name. And still, Shivanshu and Darpan are on the top of the pool, where Tushar, Keshav, Dhani Kedi and Mr. Nobody trying to catch up. Next up, which property allows you to define the name of the database schema of an external database? So you have an external database where you have a table defined. Which of these property will allow you to define the name of that database schema which is defined on an external database? The options are external schema, SQL schema, extension or external schema name, or external SQL schema. The correct answer is external schema. And still the leaderboard looks more or less same. People are moving at the same pace. Nothing major changed here. I might have missed some people here. I'll correct it. Don't worry later on. But I'm pretty sure as we go forward, the list will get updated correctly. Okay. How can developers allow users to have enough access to carry out tasks that are not defined in user permission? How you as a developer allow users to do certain processes which are not defined in user permissions? And the options were access, permission, entitlements, and inherit permissions or inherit entitlements. And the correct answer is inherit permissions or entitlements. And the leaderboard is looking pretty good. Things are changing. Darpan moved ahead. Shivanshu is lagging with one question, I guess, at this point. But Keshav, Tushar, and Dhani Kedi are trying to, and Mr. Nobody is trying to catch up. Going forward, which property is used to link a Business Central table to a SQL Server object? Now, this is only on-prem, but this is a valid property for an on-prem extension if you are ready to pay for that. The property that's correct is linked object. So you need to define the linked object, and that will allow you to connect your table, link your Business Central table to a SQL Server object. Still, Darpan moved up and still in at the top. Shivanshu is 1 point behind. Keshav, Tushar, Dhani, Kedi, Mr. Nobody are trying to catch up. Which property set is used by Microsoft to move table data between extension? Now at this point, this property is only enabled for Microsoft, but as far as I remember, Microsoft have promised that they will enable this for partners going forward. These are the options, and the correct option is move from and move to. If you want to see this, look at BC24 apps, where Microsoft moved some stuff from the base app to the foundation app. Darpan is still leading the board. Shivanshu is trying to catch up with Keshav, Tushar, Dhani, Mr. Nobody are trying to catch up, all of them. Which property allows user to paste data in a table? So there are certain properties that you need to set so that users can copy paste from Excel or paste the data into a table. And the right answer is paste is valid. Now Shivanshu is again not up, but I missed the sequence. Darpan is still on the top with 21 points. Shivanshu is on 20. Keshav, Tushar, Dhyanikeri, and Mr. Nobody is still trying to do a catch up. Let's see if that changes. Which property provides an additional permission to perform some operations on one or more tables? Is it permission set? Is it permissions? Is it additional entitlements or entitlements? Now, this question, while being asked, had the right answer incorrect, not completely incorrect, but I missed one word into it. But thank you for someone who commented on the Instagram that it seems there is a mistake in the provided options. So thank you, and I can also do mistakes. And the correct answer is permissions. The answer that was there in the Instagram was permission. And still, we have a lot of people answering, and people are going up into the board. Darpan is still on the top, Shivanshu following up, and then Keshav, Tushar, Dhyanikeri, and Mr. Nobody is trying to do a catch up again. Which table property include table in a list of tables for copying data from on-prem to SaaS? So when your customer make a decision to upgrade to Business Central SaaS, which of these property allows a table to be part of to be copied to Business Central SaaS? And that the right answer there is replicate data. Without this property, your table will be ignored if the replicate data is set to no. And there are certain tables in standard which does not get replicated. Do you know which tables are those? Add it into the comment if you know those. Okay, with that, Darpan still leading up the board. Shivanshu, Tushar, Kesav, Dhyani, Keri, Mr. Nobody is trying to catch up with the Smarty Nadeem catching up to Mr. Nobody at this point. And Neha Gupta is not that far from going up, with Shukla Ratnesh also going up, and Jagdish is also moving up into the queue with Navneet at 11 points. So everybody's going up, trying to catch up with others who have been participating from the beginning. So, okay, which of the following is invalid table type for Business Central tables? So in Business Central, when you create tables, you have an option to define what type of table it is, and one of these answers is incorrect. The incorrect answer is Power Platform. There is no table type which is Power Platform. Still, the leaderboard looks more or less similar. Darpan on the top, Shivanshu, Tushar getting up with Shivanshu at this moment. Keshav is also with Shivanshu and Tushar, where Dhyanikeri, Smarty, Nadeem, Mr. Nobody, Gupta Neha, and Shukla Ratnesh with Jagdish trying to move up into the queue, and maybe hoping for some incorrect answer from the people who are on the top of the leaderboard. But let's see. How should you create a table of type CRM or CDS? Should you go ahead and manually create it? And the reason why I asked that question is because I've seen people doing it manually. Do you automatically create it somehow? Does it get automatically created? Do you use something called as AL table proxy generator? Or is our favorite extension, AZAL extension, supports us to build that? The correct answer is Microsoft has a utility called AL table proxy generator, which allows to create tables of type CRM and CDS based on a schema which is available on CRM or CDS environment. It also allows you to automatically create a table extension for your CRM and CDS type. Okay, with that question, Darpan is still leading the board. Tushar, Keshav are on 1 point behind Darpan, whereas Shivanshu, Dhyanikeri, Smarty Nadeem, Mr. Nobody, Gupta Neha, Shukla Ratnesh, and Jagdish with Navneet are trying to do a catch up. So let's see what goes. On our 26th question, which of the following table type is not supported in Business Central Online? So the table type that you are asking is supported on Business Central Online but not on Business Central SaaS. The correct answer is Microsoft Graph. With this, nothing much changed. Everybody is still at their place on their rankings. Everybody is answering correct at this moment. The next up is which statement is not true about temporary tables. Now there is a new table type which I'm pretty sure you guys know, which is temporary tables, which you can create, and then these are the options that they don't get synchronized with the SQL database. You can make destructive changes into the temporary tables, which will not be considered destructive from an app source perspective. Hold data into memory until the table is closed. And the last option is stores data into the database. And the incorrect statement is it stores data into the database, because it does not, because it's a temporary table altogether. What changed? Nothing. Darpan, Tushar, Keshav, Shivanshu, Dhyani KD, Smarty Nadeem are up 10-20. Jagdish and Neha are trying to follow up with Ratnesh, and Mr. Nobody is going down into the queue, which is a little bit surprising, but Navneet is still trying to catch up there. Which of the following properties cannot be extended? Now, when you talk about table extension, there are certain properties that you can extend and certain property you cannot. So, can you extend caption? Can you extend drill down page ID? Can you extend replicate data, or can you extend data caption fields? You can actually extend everything, all these properties other than the replicate data, because that is defined by the extension provider, that will this table be considered for replication or not. And with this question, Darpan and Tushar are at the same points within the leaderboard, which are being followed by Keshav, Shivanshu, Dhyani KD, Smarty Nadeem, Jagdish, Gupta Neha, Shukla Ratnesh, Mr. Nobody, and Navneet. Going ahead. Which object range is reserved for localization and for localizing for a Business Central region? So if you are using Business Central India localization, which of these range is reserved for that? If you are using Business Central for North America, what object range is reserved for it, and so on and so forth for other countries. Out of these range, the correct range is this, which is reserved for doing localization in a particular region. With this question, Darpan and Tushar is still at the same marks, and this is, I guess, the second last question. Keshav is on 25. Shivanshu, Dhyani KD, Smarty Nadeem, Jagdish, Gupta Neha, Shukla Ratnesh, Mr. Nobody, and Navneet are still trying to do a catch up. Most probably with the last question now, that if you are developing an extension which you would like to sell or sell majorly for on-premise customer and online customers, which object range you should be using or you will be getting from Microsoft when you ask for it. And the correct answer is this range. With this question, Tushar is at 27. Keshav was at 26, which as in 1 point less than Tushar, which is okay, but Darpan moved down into the queue with 26. Shivanshu came down at 24, sharing that position with Dhyani KD. Smarty Nadeem, Jagdish, Gupta Neha, Shukla Ratnesh, and Mr. Nobody are still trying to catch up, but that was the last question. But let's talk about one more thing before I let you go, or few more things. The first thing is importance of timing. What would have happened, and because I was recording everything, what would have happened if everyone who was answering would have answered in the right time? Because there were 36 responses which were late. Maybe a day late, maybe a week late, because people were interested in it, and I was liking it that people are still coming and commenting. Like, I got the last comment on question number 3, I guess day before yesterday, which is okay. And I was making a count of it to see how it would have impacted if everybody who participated in these quiz questions would have answered it at the right time. So currently the results for the leaderboard looks something like this. And you'll be amazed by looking at if people would have responded correctly, what it would have been looking like. Darpan would have got 3 more points from where he is today and would have been on the top of the leaderboard, with Keshav sharing kind of the same spot with 29 points. Tushar, who is at 27, would have been at 28. Shivanshu would have been at 27 rather than being on 24. Yani KD would have been at 27 rather than being on 24. And you can see the responses here. The biggest gap that you'll see, and I guess Prachi joined a pretty late into the quiz, but she had 7 more correct answers than where she is right now at 0.2. And she only answered 9 questions if I remember it correctly. So and I know it's hard because you guys are busy, and that's the reason we kept it early morning India time. And I know everybody is on Instagram. You guys go and watch reels. So it would have made a huge difference if everybody who was participating into it would have kind of replied on time. But having said that, for me, this leaderboard was just created for you guys to keep you motivated. For me, everybody who answered is a winner. Plus, I'm amazed to see that out of 30, there were 29 questions were correct for the people who kind of contributed every day. I know some of these people have not contributed to all 30 questions, but look at it, as in I should have now I'm thinking, would have created this quiz? Let me know into the comment section, because there are 2 things. The idea is not to remember all these properties, but to remember that these properties exist. And what is, in back of your mind, you should know, oh, something like this exists. I would never imagine that you guys are remembering all these stuff, because there is a lot of stuff in the center. The idea of this quiz was to be very simple, so that you remember in back of your mind that there is something like this exists. And when you get into a development scenario or a customer asks a question, in back of your mind that, oh yeah, this may solve that problem. So it was supposed to be an open book exam, or a quiz, not an exam, where you can go back to MSDN or refer to your notes and then answer questions, just to kind of rebrush those concepts, which I'm pretty sure people here who have answered all these questions are super experienced, and for sure more experienced than me, but just to rebrush those concepts and remember those. And if there are some new properties or things that has been added, to be aware about them. So thank you everybody who participated into it. If I'm not wrong, there were 396 or 7 responses in all total for 30 questions. And I'm super happy that we understood it and you guys liked it, right? Which is important. Now I'm still thinking about it, but if you think it is helping you, just let me know into the comment section that should we need to do a season 2. All right, if yes, spam the comment section with season 2, writing season 2, because there are a lot of things in Business Central which are pretty basic. I'm not getting into the advanced stuff yet. We'll just be talking about these basic questions, and we'll just spend less than a minute into Instagram and answer that question and come out of it. Rest is on me to kind of maintain the leaderboard, to see who is correct or not, based on my knowledge. I can be wrong in any of the questions that was shown previously. If you think I was wrong somewhere, let me know into the comment section. And if you are up for the season 2, this is my Instagram handle, which is saurav.dhani. A picture something like this, which is everywhere, I guess. You can just be available there. I'll make sure that we announce it into a YouTube short or a reel if possible, and then we'll start season 2 if you guys want it. If you guys are okay with it, I'm okay with it. That's not a problem. So thank you, and I don't have a camera right now, but I'm folding my hands and thank you whosoever participated. For me, all of you who were in the previous slide, all are winners. If you learned something new, that was the motive of this whole quiz. If you have any kind of comments, good or bad, I would love to hear them into the comment section. So thank you. I'll see you sooner than later in another video, or if you guys say, then maybe into another season of the quiz. Till then, have a great day. Keep learning, keep sharing. One more thing, I forget about it. If any of these questions are confusing, the idea is if we do season 1, 2, and 3 possibly for the tables, I might do a consolidated video about why, what, how these properties work. Right? So we'll talk about it. Till then, keep learning, keep sharing whatever you are learning, so that we all make this community as great as we can. Thank you. Have a nice day.